He's here. He's here. Now, in a random student media building, deep in the bowels of the recording studio, under the wooden plaster of a marked building, we once again make contact with our lead analyst, Scott Harris.
Hey, people, Scott here. Welcome back to Capitol Hill Landscaping with Scotty. It's been a bit, about a month and a half, to be exact. Winter break, Western Oregon, it lasts a solid month, which, it's pretty nice, but can't really do the show at the same time. Anyways, I'm here with a guest today. It's our first guest ever on the podcast.
Hi, my name is Alejandro. I'm a student here at Western. I just saw a really good Dodge drive by, but I'm a political science major with a minor in legal studies, and this is my last term. And Scott told me about the podcast, and I was like, yeah, I'd love to do a podcast. So yeah. I'm here. I'm very excited.
And we're here today to discuss
anything,
whenever, whoever. I guess the big thing, we both went to Senator Ron Wyden, who recently won a re-election against Perkins, actually, November, was speaking at Western Oregon in the kind of conferencey room thing at the Wook. I don't know the name of it.
Yeah, I don't know, but they had flags.
Lots of flags.
I remember when the election was going on, probably a minute and a half, I'd be refreshing the New York Times. Like, give me more. I need more.
What's going on? Who's winning? What district is this?
I was like, I kept a lot of tallies in Washington. I think it was Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, Georgia. Oh, I think I lost hours of sleep on that.
I remember on election night, like literally, I got off class and the polls, I think, closed like the second the bell rang or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And so I immediately dashed home. I got a pizza already before the night, and I just sat down. I basically sat at my chair for like 7 hours just waiting. And then you can imagine my disappointment. This is like, the first cycle where multiple states are not done.
Yeah.
It's not just, what was it, like one or two?
I think Arizona, Nevada, I think Georgia. Georgia went into like a recount, or not a recount, like an off run, is that what it's called? Runoff, yeah. And like you could see like some states, like Texas was pretty contested for a little bit, with Abbott kind of having a lead, and then he just was gone.
Just destroyed.
But I remember after like the first night, everyone was like, oh, we won't have results until next week. And I was like, I live in disappointment.
I was specifically shocked because like the Oregon governor's race, it wasn't called for like 4 or 5 days.
Yeah. I met there's this guy. So I work at a Starbucks, and there's this guy, and he's like very political, and he's a great guy. And if you're listening, I still want to hang out with you. You know who you are. But he was telling me he worked for the governor for
Brown?
No, not Brown. The
current one now?
Kotek. Yes. He worked for Kotek's campaign. He was an organizer, something like that. And he was telling me how they were like just in their seats throughout the whole thing, because they were like, because I think at the start of the governor's election, I think what's the name? Drayson had just like pretty long, like a 3-point lead on Kotek for quite a bit until the mail-ins started getting counted. Yeah. But like then the margin just got closer and closer, and I think they were like 0.5 ahead of each other, and then next thing you know, Kotek is like 0.5 ahead, and then you refresh and it goes back to like Drayson is 0.5. And I remember the guy was like, yeah, no, we were like sweating. We were sitting there and we were like, we don't know what to do here, But they won. I mean, the candidate won. The one I wanted won. So
yeah,
good stuff.
Yeah. I remember a few podcasts ago, I kind of talked about Drazen's main fault, and that main fault was basically just not doing enough campaigning in the suburbs around Portland, which would have been basically the area to go to, because I checked, like only 30% of Portland voted in terms of its population, like Multnomah County, like nobody voted. Dang. Like this would have been the prime election for a Republican to win.
And they had a pretty good chance. I mean, I've only gotten very detailed into it recently, but like just looking at the numbers, I mean, Drayson had a pretty good chance. I mean, I think even myself was like, we could just have a Republican governor for the first time in a while in Oregon.
40 years?
I think so. I'm not huge on Oregon history. I haven't had the time to put into it, but it's been a bit.
I took a class. I forget who was the professor the political science professor.
That pulled me aside, or which one?
No, he asked the immigration question to Wyden.
Dr. Henkels.
Yeah, Henkels.
Yes.
I actually freshman year I took a class with him. It was governing Oregon. It was literally a whole
It's a book in the bookstore.
Yeah, like a whole class based on just how do you run Oregon and like what's its electoral history, and how it was basically kind of back and forth, and then also pretty Republican leaning for a solid 40 years, and then the Dems just took over basically in the 80s, and nothing's changed ever since then.
Yeah.
Essentially, yeah.
I think everybody in this midterms, not just in Oregon, but the whole country was just off their seat. I was reading that we had one of the highest turnouts for a midterm election, not just in the state, or at least I remember reading something like it. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But I remember there was a lot, obviously not 100% turnout, but I think it went from 62 to 67, something like that. I could be wrong.
62 to 67?
Something like that.
Really?
I remember reading something on the New York Times. I mean, don't quote me. I'm definitely not an academic source, I can tell you that.
I know, for the last presidential election, it was the highest turnout ever recorded. I don't...
Oh, you know where it was? I think it was Georgia. Georgia had a pretty good turnout because I think I was just when I was looking at Georgia, I was just shaking. I was like, is he going to win? Is he going to win? Because they stayed at, I think it was 49.6 and 49.8 for both candidates. And I was like, ugh. And when they announced the runoff, when everybody kind of moved on from politics, I was like, okay, now I can go back to being, my regular self. I was still on the New York Times, just George, give me more. I need more, literally.
Yeah, Georgia's a very interesting example, I guess, mainly because, the governor there who won re-election, Brian Kemp, re-won his rematch against Stacey Abrams by greater numbers than previously and has a positive approval rating, but that could not carry Herschel Walker to the Senate.
Yeah, and there was, I remember shortly after the election results came out, 2 months later, 2 years later, however long it took them to count the votes, it was there was this article, it's did Trump was Trump a good thing for the midterms and the Republicans? And there was there was a lot of backlash, and I think even a couple of Republicans were we should probably move on from this Trump character.
Yeah. It's kind of I feel I've seen more and more kind of the current thought process that because Trump only won fully for the Republicans in 2016. He's lost pretty much ever since then.
Yeah.
And now 2022, it's we won that. We have a 4-seat majority plus in the House.
I don't know the exact numbers, but it's pretty small.
It's 220. There's 222 Republicans, and you need 218 seats for a majority.
Okay, I remember because
there's 430. There's 435 seats in total.
Democrats have 211. 212.
Yeah, 212.
So whatever, minus that to 435.
Yeah, and then all the Trump-nominated candidates, what's her name, Lauren Boebert, almost lost a plus 17 Trump district by 100 and won by 100 votes.
It was really interesting on the Kevin McCarthy fiasco.
Yeah,
it was very interesting to see because I read again New York Times how Donald Trump actually called, or I think he tweeted, not tweeted, but he truthed on his app.
Truth?
Yeah, Truth. He has a social media now.
That's I knew about that, but Truth it, that's the technical term for it?
I don't know. I just made it up in my head. I don't know. Tweeted with Truth, I guess.
Yeah, it works.
But he actually he posted on his social media, it's come on, guys, vote for Kevin McCarthy. And, Lauren Boebert is this huge, right-wing MAGA advocate. And she still was no, don't want to.
There's a photo actually. It was one of the 20 people that kept voting no on McCarthy for the first 14 rounds or something like that. And it's this still frame of Marajji Taylor Greene.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
one with the phone. There's like he's like it says DJ. It's like come on, just.
And then he's just like he's got his. Obviously, if you're hearing this, you can't see.
You can't
it,
see
but
him.
I'm like he's basically like looking the other way. He's got his hand, like his palm to her face, kind of like no.
It's like that picture in the Sistine Chapel where you have man trying to reach for God.
Like
But
kinda,
instead,
but
it's
like
she's
that.
giving the phone to the candidate. And no, it's just not working. But yeah, wild times. The elections were. I mean, I think they were fun. I definitely understand why people don't like politics. They're overly complex, unnecessarily annoying, and just wow, they're investing. It's like a good book with a bad ending, or a bad book with a good ending.
Yeah, depends on you ask. Pizza Party was canceled after the first. Did you see that?
No, what was it?
So McCarthy, he's fully expecting. All right, I'm going to become House Speaker after basically dealing with all this crap for like 4+ years. Like I'm finally going to be Speaker of the House after a single vote, and I'm going to have pizza to celebrate for everybody, pizza and salad for all. And then he lost the first vote, and then the second, and then the third, and then they adjourned. And then there was official like Republican Twitter account that said pizza and salads have been canceled or like have been pushed back. So
I'm so sorry. No, we should grab the saying, the third time's the charm, and just say, that how many votes did he take? Like
15.
15. The 15 times the charm. Let's just call it that.
It
for now.
took 15 votes, and then 6 Republicans abstaining, which brought down the majority, and he won by 216.
Yeah. And even then, I mean, he didn't really win. He just had enough people not vote for him, or not vote against him.
And then now he has to give concessions.
Yeah.
I didn't read fully into the list of what he has to do, but I know just generally he basically is like now in a weaker position than he would have been.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, are you really Speaker of the House? But I think what I read is that little, like, I don't know what to call them, squad, but like not the Democratic squad, like AOC, but like
the Freedom Caucus.
Yeah, is that what it is? The Freedom Caucus?
The Freedom Caucus.
Yeah. So apparently, what they can do is they can like automatically veto some certain stuff, like some bills. They can call which bills get in the House or stuff. I could be wrong. Don't quote me. I'm gonna be repeating that. Just put me in a loop saying, "Don't quote me." I'm not an academic source.
Gotcha.
Good. But yeah, no. The whole Kevin McCarthy fiasco was entertaining to see. I mean, I wasn't aware how Pelosi's like thing went, but what's very surprising is how the Democrats were just consistently 212 for
Jeffers.
Yeah, it was like I think throughout the whole vote, all the Democrats were like
Jeffers. Yes.
And I don't think I ever heard a nay, but if they did, it was probably for McCarthy.
Yeah, actually no, I'm pretty sure he got 212 like
every single round.
Every single round.
I wouldn't be surprised if the voters were like, can just one Democrat say 212 again? Yeah, say what's the 20 minutes that it takes to record the whole 212 Democrats. Like, do all Democrats agree? Yes. Okay, good. Let's move on. All right, Kevin McCarthy. Nay. Kevin McCarthy. No. Or I think they said the representatives' names. They're like, Bobbert. No.
Gates. Trump.
Hey, there you go. That's my boy. That's my boy. Let's go. Even though he specifically said, please endorse him. Come on, guys.
We got that.
I got it.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's like, I didn't realize, like, it wasn't until the whole McCarthy thing I realized, oh, wait, the Speaker of the House doesn't have to be an elected official. It could hypothetically be anybody.
Anybody, I guess so. I mean, I want to be Speaker of the House. Go dump my name on the voting. It's like, I don't know. I'd like to be Speaker of the House. I don't know what they do. But what I found really interesting is how there was the opposition against the opposition of McCarthy. And it was mainly coming from, like, there was this representative, I don't remember her name, but she was giving this speech and I was watching it live. And she's like, come on, guys, we have to run behind, like, we have to support McCarthy because right now we can't do anything for, our Republican supporters and the people of America. And we can't be a functional Congress without having a speaker. So I ask you, not on behalf of my team and Mr. McCarthy, but I ask you on behalf of the American people. And then they went to vote, and still McCarthy didn't win. And I was like, damn. So much for the American people.
A very functioning Congress, even though it's just going to be deadlocked for the next 2 years.
3 days. Yeah, I mean, dang, the Congress is just the Senate. I mean, it's like Joe Manchin. I mean, I think if I kind of wanted to make a joke about it, it'd be like they got the Joe Manchin in there, Kevin McCarthy. You know, and the whole climate bill. I think it was how Joe Manchin was like no, and they just reversed it as like, hey McCarthy, no. So it's like, nobody wants a Joe Manchin in the Congress.
Well, they don't really need to worry about Manchin per se as much because they got Fetterman now.
Yeah, no, they got
the
Senate. Yeah,
the
they
6'8" man.
I lived through that. I lived for that, the result. I think I wanted to throw a party. I just wanted to grab all my money. I was like, I have $33 to my name. Let's go get some pizza and salad. It won't get canceled. That's good. Oh, and then they also have so there was Herschel Walker. What's the other guy?
Warnock?
Warnock. They also got Warnock in there because
No, he was re-elected.
Oh, he was already there. Or...
Yeah. In 2020, him and it was a really weird like thing in Georgia in 2020 because they like had both the Senate elections because like I think the previous senator died or something, and then they had Ossoff and Warnock versus whoever the other two. I don't remember their names. They're like,
I don't remember, but hey, they won. That's good.
Yeah.
No pizza party was canceled. That's my favorite part. That makes me sad. Imagine all the Republicans looking for it.
They did get champagne. They had like I remember like on the 15th vote, I saw a video. It was just this
huge line.
It wasn't even a sign. It was probably like a cart, like
the size of the room.
Yeah, pretty much. Dang. Full of champagne that they brought into like the speaker's office.
Hey, after 15 votes, I think everybody wanted like pizza is no longer a factor. We just want champagne. Just knowing the fact that we won. That has to mean something. So, congrats to them. I'm happy they won. At least the House of Representatives can start passing laws now.
Yeah, what's fun. What's interesting about that is that I remember when Wyden was talking about the Republicans abolishing the IRS or like funding or getting rid of it. I don't know why he didn't mention it. He didn't mention the fact that to replace the IRS, we're gonna have a 23% federal sales tax on everything.
Well, there goes the pizza party again. Pizza's gonna go from $7.99 to like $23.99.
Yeah.
I think my guess is he was trying to keep it partisan, or bipartisan,
nonpartisan.
Yeah, nonpartisan. So much for a political science major. But I imagine he didn't want to be like pointing fingers, like, oh, if they remove it, then the federal government. And the last thing you want to do as a government official, I imagine, is throw shade at your government.
Sure.
So if I worked for Nike, I wouldn't be saying, oh, let's we make our shoes out of non-recycled paper,
and Bangladesh.
And then there you go. See, and you definitely would be like, no, we make them with sustainable means. There's no such thing as a minimum wage. Like we give them maximum wage, So I imagine Ron Wyden did a similar thing. Not to bash him, there's nothing wrong with him. I love the guy. So he wished me good luck on my LSAT. So if I get 180, and if you see me in Harvard, it's because Ron Wyden did it for me.
Woo! Is that what you're thinking? You're thinking Harvard?
No.
No?
No. I thought it'd be funny, though. I'm thinking... I'm going to butcher the name, and I'm so sorry, because if I end up going there, it's going to be bad. Willamette?
Willamette?
Yeah. The law school, right?
That's
how it's pronounced?
Willamette University?
Yeah.
Or University of Willamette?
I don't know. I think it's Willamette University, but that's what I'm planning to go. Lewis and Clark would be nice. UNM, because of Better Call Saul. I just gotta throw it out there. They'll eventually find this recording. It's I used to be a chemistry major, and I stumbled upon Better Call Saul, and I was like, wow, I wish lawyers were real.
Yeah.
I want to be one of those. So that's kind of what launched me into it, and then I read some Supreme Court cases and some classes, and I was like, dang, this is good. I took constitutional law here, and I was battered, but I liked it. I was like, I like this. Like, tell me more about, I think one of my favorite cases is, there's so many. Brown v. Board of Education. Brown, I think it's Brown Williamson. FDA v. Brown Williamson, I think.
What's
That's
that
a
one?
really good one. It's the one that basically said the FDA can't regulate cigarettes because they're not food.
Huh.
Yeah, no, that was a real case. It was in 2009. I don't think it was 2000. I think it might have been early 2000s until 2009, when I think it might have been Barack Obama who said, hey, the FDA should regulate. And I think they should regulate like cigarettes. Again, I'm not an academic source. Please don't quote me. Please don't go saying, oh, this guy, he believes everything. It's like, no. I'm pretty sure I read a booklet on it somewhere in a textbook, and I was like, wow. Actually, I think it was Dr. Hinkles who told us about that case. So, cite him, not me. But it was, basically, it was, I think it's Marlboro.
Marlboro?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at this. The cigarette company, the FDA tried to regulate like nicotine, and they sued the FDA and said, hey, you can't regulate nicotine because nicotine's not a food. And the FDA was like,
It's a
well,
drug, you admitted.
yeah, but I guess nicotine wasn't considered a drug either, because you know how drugs are mostly like pharmaceuticals.
True.
So when Brown went to lay the case, they were like, well, the FDA regulates medicine. Nicotine's not a medicine. And then they were like, and regulates food. We're not talking, cigarettes aren't like, you don't go and buy bread and buy cigarettes. You don't eat cigarettes. And eventually the Supreme Court was like, yeah, that makes a compelling argument, yeah. So they ruled against the FDA. And I think it was like 2009 when they were like, you know what, maybe nicotine is kind of harmful, so we should probably do something about it. And that's when basically a law invalidated that decision.
Can they do that?
Like if the government's, like if the Senate agrees on it, they can basically, like if, for example, if an abortion, right, like if we were to like constitutionalize abortion into the Constitution, then, I mean, if they were, I think it's...
Is it 2/3 majority?
I think so. I took government classes back in like Chemekras. It's been a while, but something around the same. But I think once it becomes part of the Constitution, it basically overruns or overturns anything that opposes it, unless there's like unless they were to overturn the Constitution, like re-amended it. So I think with the whole cigarette thing, when they said we're gonna have the FDA regulate cigarettes as part of like I think it was a law that they passed, that case basically became obsolete because now there was a rule. There was a law, not a rule. There was a law that said the FDA will regulate cigarettes because they're harmful, and that case was just like, oh, whatever. There goes the billions Brown Williamson spent on. But it's one of my favorite cases. Fun stuff, I like to go up to people and be like, hey, do you know that the cigarettes aren't food and drug? And like, they're drugs. It's like, well, according to the Supreme Court in like 2001. So it's always nice to hit them with that.
I remember when I used to work at there's a Circle K like on the corner. Like, yeah, I remember I had to memorize all the cigarette varieties.
Oh man, I can't imagine. It's like Starbucks.
It's actually it's actually a lot easier.
Really?
Because it's all organized based on brand.
Oh, nice.
And so, I mean, the only thing that was confusing is when there's like subdivisions of certain. So somebody say, can I get American Spirits greens?
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
there's like all these subdivisions and they're like, it's fairly easy to understand. But then you said, oh, can I get a menthol Camel Crush blues?
Camels are origin. They come from Africa. I don't know what you want. I didn't even know they were camels that were blue. But I have several friends that work at Circle K's and convenience stores.
Yeah.
And I'll go over and I'll ask them how they're doing. And the same way that you just explained how people get cigarettes, I'll be talking to them and some guy will be like, hi, can I get some? I'm gonna butcher their name again. Marlboros, I think. Marlboro, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Reds, and the guy my friend turns around and is like, oh yeah, how many? Oh, 2. Grab some. And then what's most surprising is I think they come up to like $10 in total.
They're very expensive.
Very expensive. I mean,
I haven't kept up to date with taxation policy of cigarettes, but I'm pretty sure I know there's state and then there's federal taxes of it too.
It's pretty expensive. I mean,
yeah.
I think the cigarettes on their own are like $6 and it's like $4 of taxes. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in recent times, $10 is like a gallon of gas nowadays. So I'd rather put a gallon of gas in my car right now.
It's gone down.
It has. I have a pizza party and salad that I
Let's
cancel.
go!
Yeah. Now we can actually afford the salad and the pizza.
Nice.
But I drive a pretty bad. It's not a terrible. It's in the middle range of gas spending. But I do get a lot of concerns, especially from my girlfriend who says, "Hey, you should buy a more fuel efficient car." Like, yeah, you're right, but my car goes vroom. I want to go vroom. So as much as it does spend gas, I gotta say, like, it's worth it. I personally don't complain about gas because I know my car is not fuel efficient. So there's no point to me being like, I spent $70 filling my tank. How could I? Like, I hate these gas prices. It's like, no, I chose. I could go buy a Honda and not complain about it, but I chose to drive a BMW. So whatever.
I have a Honda and I still complain about it.
See, but that's a fuel efficient car. You have all right to do so.
Yeah, paying. I think it peaked here in this area like $5.20.
$5.20.
I think that's what it peaked at. It was over $5 for a solid like 2 months.
Dang.
Yeah, and now thankfully it's gone down to $3.28.
$3.28 here.
Yeah.
Remind me to pump gas here.
Well, there's not. You live in Salem, right?
I live in McMinnville, Oregon, but
dude,
no, it's not as you think. It's cheaper over there.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, dude, that's where I grew up.
Oh, have me up.
I didn't even realize this.
This is so cool.
Yeah, I didn't go to Mac High though. I went to a fancy private Christian school, like on Wallace Street, right out of Salem. But it's besides the point.
Wait, right out of Salem?
Yeah, it's like you go from West Salem and then you go on.
Is it by chance? I don't know if this is it. This I could be completely wrong. What's it called? Sounds like Limestone.
Limestone?
Do you remember the name?
It's Western Christian.
Oh yeah,
formerly
yeah.
Western Mennonite.
Yeah, I think I know which one you're talking about. I think my dad bought a car there once.
Oh.
We saw this little orange Aveo and it said for sale. So my dad we didn't tailgate him, but like we followed him, right? And he's like, "Are you selling the car?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm selling it." I was like, "Okay, we'll buy it." We took it for a little test run. They went into the school, talk a little bit, and I think that happened. I could imagining it. I could be like wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's where it went. But anyway, in McMinnville, gas is like, I think it peaked to like five something. I don't remember the cents, but I did go to California when the gas spikes were going really up.
Ooh.
I saw I don't remember the beach we went to, but I think it went up to like, I think premium was like $8 a gallon.
Woo!
And that's when I realized I didn't want to live in California. So, but yeah, no, it was pretty bad. I remember I used to fill my tank. When COVID started, I will remember this because I started driving when COVID started. Mm-hmm. I remember that I lived in Salem and gas was like $2.50.
It was the same in McMinnville at the start of the pandemic.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, like it was a few months in. I believe I started working a job at the Lowe's in McMinnville for a little while, but it was like in the late summer. It was still $2.50, like several months into the pandemic.
Loved it.
And then
it just went up. I got terrified. Because I lived in Salem, and everything in Salem, it's just more expensive. And I remember I would pump gas, and I'd show up, and I'd be like, fill it, with what? Regular. Regular? Yeah, regular. Just put regular. I can't afford it anymore. But it was like $2.50, right? Mm-hmm. And then one day I was like, I'm feeling a little dangerous, right? So I was like, fill it with premium, right? And that was like $2.79. That was like a 20-cent difference, and I feel so cool. Anyways, I haven't pumped premium in my car since. So
it's probably, yeah.
It's probably. I mean, I probably saved myself millions by now.
Oh, definitely, easily.
But then when the whole spike went up, I was like, do I eat lunch or like do I pump gas? I think I didn't feel when the whole Ukraine war started. I didn't fill my tank. I would just add $10 increments like every 2 days on my car.
I don't know. I found that so interesting that there's some, because gas was already
spiking.
Going.
Yeah,
it was already spiking, and then obviously, luckily, we're not Germany right now.
No. We definitely have it easier than all other nations.
Because it went up by like what, the Ukraine and then like what 10, 20 cents max?
Probably. I mean, it was pretty. It was already high enough, and then it just started climbing again. And we were like, oh.
And then now we're getting. I believe I could be wrong. Somebody can fact check me on this. I believe we're now importing oil from Venezuela. Because
could be. I don't know. I know that.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Good.
It might be because it's gone steadily down now, and I know that we now have formalized relations with Venezuela, and also we rejected the one guy we were trying to like get there.
Actually, I've read that the party of the opposition
Yeah.
actually ended up ousting him. They were like, "Hey, you're not doing a very good job."
He's not in power. Wait. Oh, you mean the one guy?
Yeah, I don't remember his name. But,
yeah, that guy.
Not Maduro.
Yeah,
I can call him.
yeah.
Not Maduro. That's what I'm gonna call him because I forgot his name. But his own party ended up telling him to
Go.
like remove because the momentum kind of faded after a little bit, which is sad because obviously Maduro just kind of walked in. It's like, yeah, pizza party and salad for everyone, and by that I mean just my generals and me.
Yeah.
But it's kind of sad. But I like to think that eventually, there'll be another attempt. I mean, McCarthy. It took McCarthy 15 tries. Venezuela can make another third one.
Never know.
You never know.
We'll see. Remains to be seen.
But yeah, gas is interesting. But yeah, I didn't fill my tank. I think the most my car ever had on its tank during the first few months of the Ukraine war, and once the pandemic was kind of like leveling itself down, I think the most I ever had was half a tank. Mm-hmm. However, my girlfriend did for my birthday was like, I'm gonna fill your tank. Best birthday gift I've ever had. She just filled it. I had gas for a week. I didn't have to worry about. I could be like, I would wake up at like 9 and be like, oh, I don't have to leave right now and go pump gas. No, I could leave at 9:10. I get here on time. It was wonderful. Best time of my life. So, in the subject of cars, what kind of do you like cars?
Not super into it. I drive a Honda Civic.
Hey man, wonderful cars. Honda. I'm myself looking into a Honda too. So, good cars. What year?
2012.
Oh, that's very new. I'm a fan for like 80s, 60s, all classics.
Kind of like that.
That Dodge Star that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. It's the specific like the 80s era of like car design.
The boxy design.
But like it's boxy, but not too boxy.
They like retro.
Yes.
Yeah. No, those cars look. I'm looking into like the pop-up headlights and stuff, and how like they're kind of like they're not. What I don't like about new cars is they're really curvy. They're like little bubbles.
Kia Souls.
The Kia's. Okay, except for like, well, they went from rectangles to like beveled rectangles. Like they used to have sharp corners, and now they have like those round edges.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, they went from Kia Soul to Kia Soulless. I think they got worse. Woo! Please, can you cue the laugh track?
I don't think we have one.
Oh.
I don't know what these buttons do.
Just press them. Well, we have intro music.
But I have my own intro that I have to. I was gonna record after the fact.
Oh, maybe you can stop the music.
I don't know if I can or can I? I can just do that. That works too.
Cool, we did it.
Woo!
Woo! Pizza and salad.
Pizza and salad.
But yeah.
There's a question. This is kind of I had a. So I guess a preface. When we went to the Ron Wyden town hall, there was like a raffle basically for if you got to answer a question or not.
I know where you're going with this.
And so I got the pick. I was like one of the
fourth or fifth
person that got to ask a question. I asked, do you think Biden's got a chance next year or 2 years from now? And he said, I can't answer that, but I'll talk to you after the fact. And then after the event, we went outside and he basically said, yeah, I think he can win because we got done in the last Congress and stuff like that. But my backup question, which I kind of feel like I probably should have asked him, was like, hey, do you support maybe like using nuclear energy to power everything?
I don't.
You don't?
I'm not a big fan.
You're not a big fan of nuclear?
No. I have to say, I'm a big environmentalist. And I guess there's just that it's like, nuclear energy is kind of like, it's like playing with fire. Like, yeah, it can be controlled, but you need to be very like detailed about it. And I think whenever I hear nuclear, I don't mean to say like, oh, we should get rid of it, because I know there's a lot of countries in Europe, especially Ukraine, has like 3 or 4 nuclear plants, right?
France is entirely nuclear energy.
Hey, props to them, man.
Their entire I think like 90% of their electric grid is like nuclear powered.
Oh, dang.
So now they're just vibing while, Germany is like tearing up centuries-old villages and farms to mine like crap coal, basically.
I mean, if I had to choose between coal or nuclear, I think I'd still kind of side with nuclear a little bit. It's just it's kind of dangerous. Now I'm no nuclear engineer, no nuclear scientist. I took chemistry, so when I hear nuclear, I think nucleus. So I'm pretty far from the subject. Definitely not an expert, but I would say that at least from the little knowledge I know, I imagine that they gotten safer, and like they're not as Chernobyl style or like I don't.
There's not a bunch of
disasters, because I think that's my worry. And then my other concern is, where do we put all the nuclear waste? Because there's always byproduct by them, and as a personal environmentalist, I just wonder, it's like, where are we gonna put it? We can't just dump it in the ocean, because then we're destroying ocean wildlife environments. We can't just dig it on the ground, because then it leaks and radiates stuff. So that's kind of where my point is. Like, I think it's a good solution, but there's a lot of things you have to consider. I'd like to hear your point, though.
So my point, I am kind of all for it, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
I think it's the best way for us to actually combat climate change, in terms of like getting us off fossil fuels to power our homes and industry, because that's where 60% of our emissions are coming from, is just from heating our homes.
Yes, and all the people who drive Honda Civics without any exhaust on them.
Exactly.
Epic.
Yes. But basically, like, instead of having, I don't know, my perspective of it is kind of like, I look at France as an example of it. They've kind of perfected it to an extent. And then also there was like a recent breakthrough in like nuclear fission. And I'm pretty sure there's like good ways to like dispose of nuclear waste as well. And then I guess also my general perception of it is, you could say, instead of building like hundreds of like tens of thousands of acres of like solar grids and stuff like that, and like have to kind of put that somewhere, like say in the middle of like, I don't know, the Four Corners or something like that. Because that fact, like, you can power the entirety of the US with solar panels if you like use, like, I forget what it is, like 200 something, I don't know.
I trust you.
Like, basically just a big land area usage. Instead, you could just have like, I think like less than 1,000 nuclear power plants like across the country, and you could just power everything. Because we power aircraft carriers, and they're just vibing. Like,
they're just kind of sitting there.
Yeah.
But I think my concern is, there's still that danger of
what happens if there's a meltdown?
A meltdown, or like, because like, for example, obviously it doesn't have to be like a human problem where you could build the best, but like, we're seeing it in California. San Francisco Bay is like, I was gonna say soaked, but like inundated, flooded, right? And like, if you have a power plant and then there's a tornado, like you'd have to be very selective of where they can go, because you don't want a natural disaster just go tear your nuclear plant, especially because they're big investments, I imagine. So like,
they're definitely expensive. They obviously pay themselves back in the long run, but short term, it's pricey.
I'm curious to see like how I went to an advocacy event, and I'm curious to see what you would do. Like how like imagine I'm just a representative. I don't know, I'm a random guy you just met in the street, and the Western is making a vote, not encourage me, but like persuade me into voting nuclear. Tell me why I should vote nuclear.
Well, for starters, environmental reasons. That's probably the biggest concern.
You got my vote. Good.
That's
I'm just kidding. Just kidding. Go ahead, continue.
It's the technology has advanced
Mhm.
way beyond Chernobyl, because
Mhm.
Chernobyl, you're using technology that's, from basically the 40s, and you
Fair
have a
point.
bunch of yes men that are saying, "Oh yeah, everything is perfectly fine. There's
Nah.
nothing wrong."
Nah.
I'm just not saying this because I don't want to get executed by.
Da,
Yeah.
eto moi motor. That's Russian for this is my engine, I think. I took one class in Duolingo. But okay, go ahead,
Yeah.
continue. I like this. I like this is going.
And then also just power bill,
Mhm.
like your power bill would go down too, because it would be producing so much excess energy
Mhm.
that the price of it, would go down.
I
in
have a
terms of
question.
Consuming, yes.
So, would you make them private industries, or you have?
No. This would be.
You
What?
can't tell, but I'm smiling.
No, yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. I would want this all to be, because that breakthrough nuclear fission. I'm pretty sure that was a government funded program.
I think so. I think I read about it. It was like, I just remember the New York Times had this like big
Reactor.
reactor-looking thingy on a picture. And I was like, oh, it's at nuclear fission. It's like chemistry. So I actually read it. So
Yeah, like what France does. Like all of France's nuclear reactors are owned by it's a public utility. Like it's owned by
good.
the government. Like it's like how Monmouth has or Salem has its. You pay the city to use water,
okay,
kind of thing. Kind of like that. Just not private.
got it. Okay, well that's actually a pretty good reasons. I mean, I remember I read an article about like what's it called? Clean energy, and one of the guy was a writer who was a very like big promoter of nuclear energy. And I was like, this sounds kind of biased, but I need it for my paper, so I used it. But I mean, if the technologies become more safe,
Yeah.
and I bet you could probably do something about it. I mean, I do. So you obviously have to consider, what about oil companies?
That's the problem, because oil doesn't want it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Oil companies they're complex. They're fascinating entities,
They are.
and they also they go hand in hand with cars and car manufacturing. Or do they?
No, but you definitely need oil to power up
Power.
my Beamer in the morning. So
Yeah, and then well, what if your car is fully electric, or what if it's a hybrid?
then you don't. Oh, I mean, depends on where you get the energy source.
True.
Because like I mean, I guess you could maybe you can go up to Rivian, the electric truck manufacturer that just came out a couple of years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a new one. I like them. They look like they're little robot thingies, but they're like trucks. But
For context, if you were in Monmouth, you've probably seen these like
Wally looking things.
Wally-esque looking like little robots. They're like pure white. They have like these blue eyes. They like look around. They deliver
food, I think.
Yeah.
But
Continue.
no. So Rivian, right? I guess you could go up to Rivian and say, hey, instead of using because I think the concern with electric vehicles, and I learned this after writing an essay on them, is their fuel. They can be clean, but it really depends on where they're getting the electricity to be charged.
That's
But if you were to like cut a deal where you say, hey, all the charges that I'm gonna be put are gonna be powered by a nuclear plant in Middle Oregon, then you could be like, well, then those like pickup trucks, those electric pickup trucks, and all those chargers in the cities would definitely become far cleaner. And like you said, you can make the utilities for electricity could go down, and that would perhaps even push people who need cars but can't afford the gas, especially in these times where it kind of bounces up and down a little bit. You could be like, well, with an electric, not to promote Rivian, we're definitely not sponsored, I doubt it, but to just to say like, hey, a Rivian pickup might be more affordable than a 2022 Ford F-150. So, and that would be nice. I mean, you definitely get support for that.
That's the dream overall. However, my only problem with electric cars is just the very specific mineral components that have to go into it.
There was I think it was Sweden they recently discovered because I wrote a paper on natural resources too,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the things I wrote is, well, who controls most of those minerals for electric cars? China, right?
Yeah.
But Sweden recently came out that they found this, like, they called it like a green earth reserve or something like that. But they found a huge reserve of natural resources that are mostly like dedicated, or like that are used to construct like or manufacture like
Electric
batteries
cars. Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Mm.
And if your concern is where we're gonna get all these like electronic parts for all the raw material to make all of these, Sweden just came out and said, hey, turns out we have a reserve right in front of our lawn.
That's good. That's a lot better than
yeah.
shipping it from, the Congo or somewhere in the middle of the Andes and stuff.
Yeah. And, because I imagine a lot of concern is, well, we don't want China to be like, we don't want to become dependent on China. But like Sweden, I believe, is a UN member, I think. I don't remember.
They are.
I mean, then you have an UN member supplying.
Are you thinking NATO?
NATO? No. UN.
UN. They are a UN. They're not. Yeah.
They're not NATO. I don't think so.
They're trying to.
Yeah, I mean, if I was Sweden, I'd be trying to. I even changed my name to like NATO 2.0 or something. Just so I was like, maybe they'll get confused. NATO, but the O is a 0.
Oh, it's got like the 2 dots.
The 2 dots or like 2 spaces before it.
Yeah.
It's like N space NATO.
Yeah, NATO.
NATO.
I know there's a Swedish guy I talked to. He sounds exactly like it's the Swedish chef from the Muppets.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, it's kind of like picture that voice, but like very deep. Oh yes. You sound like you need to go to this spot here, and then you can put that there or something like that.
That's so cool. I want to meet him. Get him in the podcast.
I think he's on a boat right now.
Oh. Well, bring the boat to the podcast. Or the podcast to the boat, I guess that might be more.
I don't think I can go to the Baltic Sea right now.
I don't think anybody wants to go to the Baltic Sea, but I hope he's good, I mean, I'd love to meet him. I mean, if he needs me to put whatever he needs me to put down, I will put it down. It just has to... Yeah. He doesn't even need to say, please, just give me the box. Put it down.
I remember I read, I think a few months ago, apparently Idaho has a ton of cobalt.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it's like, it's right in the middle of a federal natural park.
Yeah. Keep the natural part. We don't need cobalt. We got to do something about China.
But we need the I forget the
Rivian?
Rivian.
We don't need Rivians, Cadillac survived the 2008 economic crash. The Rivian can do it.
Okay. I want a water powered car at some point.
That'd be cool. Like, wait, are we like talking like pumping water to the engine, or like
hydrogen?
Oh, hydrogen. Actually, I was a big BMW fan, right? Yeah. I was reading that there was this old BMW. It was like a luxury sedan, but they made a model that was fueled by hydrogen.
Really?
Yeah, they made a prototype. I think there's like 2 in the world. One of them is at the Munich or the Bavarian Works, Outer Work, whatever. But they had a BMW that was like fueled by hydrogen, and I was like, wow. So like, at least there are companies that tried it. I think the only problem with hydrogen fuel is it's just very hard to get. Hydrogen's expensive, I believe, either to like manufacture and just like carry it. I mean, hydrogen I believe, is an extremely volatile substance from my couple of years in chemistry in high school and college. Yeah. Because I mean, I think if you go and put a lighter next to hydrogen, it just explodes.
Probably. So,
I mean, I love cars, but like if my car's good, well, theoretically speaking, my car is a bomb if, you like gasoline inside it. But I mean, if you have hydrogen in there, I feel a little bit unsafer,
I guess my dream is, we have aircraft carriers that are nuclear power.
We should put nuclear reactors in cars. Yeah.
Think about it. You would never have to pay for gas again.
No, I just,
It's the ultimate fuel-efficient vehicle.
I think that's a wonderful idea. We can call them the... this is very insensitive, but pardon me. But we could call it the Chernos,
Cherno?
Cherno, like Chernobyl. The Cherno 2,
Yeah.
But that'd be smart. There was actually a Chrysler in the 70s actually put a turbine engine into a car. Yeah, legit. You know how there was that awkward period where airplanes were becoming a thing, and car manufacturers like, wow, the planes are the future.
Mm-hmm.
And they built a lot of cars that look like planes, right? You probably don't, but just Google it. Just put like airplane design cars. I think it's like, I don't know. But Chrysler literally made a Chrysler with a jet turbine in the back that was functional. I believe they made 47 of them. And I think Jay Leno has one.
Really?
Yeah. Like if you Google it, you will find, and it's literally, I think it's like 2 turbines that are supposed to like look like headlights or like taillights, but they're turbines. Obviously they scrapped it because you can imagine how expensive it is to put,
I can imagine.
Jet fuel into your car. But
what isn't like jet fuel like 7 times more expensive than gas?
I don't know.
Or probably way more.
Probably my salary. More. I don't know.
I mean, it might be cheap because you have to put so much in, every single plane, and there's like thousands of planes flying every single day.
Yeah.
So it's a question for Google. But
about the Chrysler car, I think the reason why they didn't manufacture more, like they wanted to do it right, but I mean it was just so expensive. I think the gas mileage on those things was terrible. You can imagine just having an engine, go.
But could it go 0 to 60 in 2 seconds?
I don't recall if I tested it, like if they tested the car, but they did build driving, and I think there's still pretty good examples. I think there was a point where they recalled a couple of them, because imagine there's an jet engine in your car. That's probably unsafe to a degree, right? But they do have, I'm pretty sure Jay Leno has one. I don't know what the speed times is. I imagine it's probably within the numerical sense of how much it takes to, it's probably within the amount of seconds it takes is probably the amount of gas it takes in a second, so.
Yeah. I guess the only problem with nuclear powered cars is what happens with the accidents. If there's an accident, because that's...
Don't think about it.
Don't think about it?
Don't think about it.
Don't think about it.
The churner only covers tire oil switches. What, you wouldn't have to spend time fixing oil?
You wouldn't have to pay to go get your oil changed.
You could just go to, Bill's Cherno, and then automatically like, hey, ran out of uranium, and it's like, here you go. You're so raw. And then would they even have an exhaust note? I don't know what I mean.
No, because it'd have to be like it would be entirely electric.
Oh dang!
But just nuclear powered.
That'd be kind of cool. That'd be fun. And then you could how fast do you think it'd go?
I mean, I feel like you can engineer it it would go as fast as a Tesla. Like that's.
Oh dang!
That's what I would guess.
Yeah, because it'd technically be like an electric car, but instead of using electricity, it'd be using nuclear. So dang, they would be pretty fast because Teslas are fast. Play with the bear. I like it.
For context, there's a taxidermy stuffed hybrid animal.
I think it's an elephant.
That's an elephant?
I don't know, but this could be the mascot for the Chernos,
Probably.
Because they're mutated.
True.
But I think putting it definitely putting a nuclear plant into your engine bay sounds a lot more feasible than a jet turbine into the trunk of your car. I mean, Chrysler managed it, but has anybody managed to put a nuclear plant into a car?
I feel like somebody has had to have tried at some point.
I mean, there was this Russian guy who put 3 semi-truck engines into one of those little Russian cars, if you know what I'm talking about.
Like one of the really cheap
Soviet
ones?
The really cheap Soviets. Yeah, he just manufactured 3 engines into it. And, the car worked until it just overheated. And no, actually, I don't think it overheated. But, hey, they did it.
I think I remember seeing a video of a guy putting a jet engine on a dune buggy, but it's basically a skeletal frame, a seat, and a steering wheel.
Safety features not included.
I think he had a seatbelt. I think.
Okay, he's fine then.
Yeah, it's just you pan the camera back to the engine, it's just red.
Dang. I wonder if because nuclear power plants generate a lot of heat, right?
Yeah, I believe. I'm not a nuclear physicist, but I'm pretty sure don't quote me. But I'm pretty sure the whole principle is that the uranium heats up, the water cools it, and it generates via that means.
Yeah.
That's why you see Yes, I believe that's it because it's all the steam that's coming out of like the massive like wherever. This is a very dated reference. It's where Wolverine and his brother fought Deadpool, like on top of one of those things.
Got it. Oh yeah. I know what you're talking. Okay, I know exactly what's happening now.
Yeah,
I get the reference. I actually watched the movie after there was an earthquake, I guess. But if that's the case, then you already have parts of a car that people can play with. You got a cooling system, like a coolant. So you can buy like Mishimoto parts.
Yeah,
that's a performance coolant place. And then you could go up to like be like, hey, what's the like biggest nuclear power in the world?
It's probably somewhere in France.
You could go to like France and be like, Croissant, the lead manufacturer on nuclear power engines, right? And you could buy like an engine for like 10 grand and be like, I'm gonna power plant swap my Cherno. For a French-made, croissant V2, and then you throw it in, and then there's definitely smoke coming out, and you can definitely put an exhaust, and it wouldn't be a Honda Civic that's waking you up at 3 a.m. It'd be a Cherno with a V2 French-made croissant.
It'd be like one of those new like electric Dodge Chargers that has like the artificial sound.
How do you feel about that?
I don't like that. It's too it's too unnatural.
I thought it was kind of cool.
Like it's definitely cool, but it's just like. I don't know.
Because as an enthusiast, it's kind of like, I mean, my favorite part about cars is they go fast, right? Like I say, they go, right? But there's just something about that engine note. So when I saw Dodge was putting like, the like, Fast and Furious, engine sound, I was like, wow, that's cool. But I can see why people, especially enthusiasts, are like, well, that's not a real engine. But we could do that to the Chernos, because I imagine from the nuclear fission, it's not really gonna make. But we could put like a Bluetooth speaker on the exhaust, so that we get to hear like say you wake up saying like I want my Cherno to sound like a Windows XP computer when like you're running a video game. It's like or like an engine taking off, something like that.
I know you can customize the car horn sound for Tesla.
Did that actually happen?
Yeah, you can do that. I'm pretty sure. And somebody did it with they did it with the Black Ops COD zombie sound. And somebody did that as like their kind of horn beep sound.
That's cool. Yeah. There's so many good horns. I remember there was like memes about it because I think he released like you will be able to customize your horn, and makes me want to go to California because I saw so many Teslas in Cali. It's like why not just like what's it called? Be tailgated by a Tesla just so that they can honk it. Who knows? Maybe I'll get like a bell sound, or the Windows XP like turning off sound, or the alarm, like hurricane alarm or something like that. Earthquake sounds.
You mean like that warning the government plays?
Yeah, or like like
emergency sound.
The Amber Alert one, like a Tesla honks at me and you just get the Amber Alert sound. Like, oh, okay, I'll move. What's that sound that I'm thinking about?
It's like the very like.
Yeah.
That.
Or like the iPhone alarm sound. Like I'd probably drive off a cliff with that.
Or the very orchestral Samsung like wake up alarm.
I've never had I had a Samsung for like a week, but I don't know.
It's like
Oh,
it's like very like
very classical.
It's very grandiose and classical.
That's cool. No, but like imagine you're like driving and then you just hear a tiger roaring behind you. Turns out it's just Willie Boy on his on his Tesla. I'm like, oh, sorry, Willie. Go ahead. That'd be kind of cool. I like to see. I wonder if there's people like there has to be a community, right? Where you can just be like, top 10 best horns for your Tesla 2023 or something.
I feel like there has to be.
Because like, I mean, if every electric car does that, I might be compelled to drop my gas guzzler and go get a Rivian, or a Cherno, because that has to be. I will help you fund that project. I will design the cars.
I don't think I want to be a nuclear physicist. That's the job.
We just hire somebody to do it.
That's a very good point.
Are you studying nuclear physicism?
No.
Anybody in the audience?
Oh,
call Scotty in the Capitol Hill, and
that's me.
We'll hook you up on a job in probably 100 years when nuclear power plants are the size of an iPhone.
True. True. All right. I have a very important question.
Go ahead.
It's the same question I asked Mr. Wyden.
Oh, okay.
Do you think Biden has a shot in 2024? And if he doesn't, who do you think should take up the mantle?
That's a good question. I don't think Biden should run again for office. There's obviously the age talk, and obviously I don't think you should focus the whole argument. It's like, oh, he's like 150. Don't run, right? But I feel like he's just he did what he could, but I mean the country's such an unstable. I think what they need, at least what the Democrats need, is they need somebody that isn't a redo. They need a new shape, especially because the Democrats are kind of finding their own deal with, like, do we want to be, there's like the really left Democrats and there's the very center Democrats, and then there's like an identity crisis on the Democratic Party. And I think Joe Biden at the start, he started like a center, but then he was slowly pulled into that like left. And I just don't think with this approval, like, I'm not saying he's a bad person or anything, or a bad president, but I think I also would wage it on who runs against him. But I don't think Biden should run for re-election. I think the Democrats should find somebody who embodies, I guess, a Democratic Party right now, somebody that's like willing to be flexible. Because I think Joe Biden is still kind of trying to feed off the, I'm working for everybody, but I can't really do much, right? But if I don't think it's a good idea. I think I saw an article during the midterms where a lot of Democrats like, hey, would you endorse Biden? And a lot of them were like, oh, this is not time to talk about the election. Kind of like what Ron Wyden said in that.
You kind of like decided to dodge the question in front of everybody, but then like said to me privately is like, oh yeah, no, I think you can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just think like he could, and it could like recreate, but I just don't think it should be the plate Democrats should take.
So who should take up that mantle? That's the bigger question.
I don't know enough Democrats. I mean, big Sanders supporter over here, but that's not gonna happen. Let me think. I don't know. I vote Ron Wyden for president.
I feel like he's too entrenched in this. I feel like
on the Senate.
Yeah, I think Ron Wyden, he's like a Chuck Schumer type who like he just will stay in the Senate, and he's been there for 30+ years.
Ron Wyden, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but he did wish me luck on my LSAT.
Yeah.
That's hard. I mean, another thing I didn't want to say before I answer the other question is, I think if Trump runs again and he manages to win the majority, I think the Democrats will definitely have a better play. Like, they'll get an advantage because I think even a majority of, I'm going to say center Republicans are kind of tired with Trump. So if he were to win the majority again and be the running mate, I feel like the Democrats would have an easier time. Because it's like, okay, well, here's the guy who who won 2016, lost 2020. He tried to revoke. He did this whole meddling in the elections. He has a bunch of like litigation against him, blah blah blah, and he's still running for president. It's kind of like it's like telling a joke 3 times. The first time is funny. The second time is somewhat funny. The third one is like, yeah, that's about it. The fourth time, it's no longer funny. And I feel like the Democrats would have a little better. And if Joe Biden would run, I don't think it would guarantee him a win, but he might have just a higher chance. Because, I mean, between Joe or Trump, I think at least most Democrats would still choose Joe. Now, who would choose? Who would be able to fill that? I gotta think. Do I get to phone a friend, aka Google, to look at like?
Yeah. I have my own personal pick to fill Joe's shoes.
Go for it.
It's very unrealistic, but I'd say if any like Democrat wanted to kind of like take place and would probably also have a good shot at winning, not just against Trump, but also even a fair shot, like a decent shot at beating DeSantis, I'd pick Fetterman.
Fetterman?
That's my personal pick.
The Fetterman's the one that won Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, the new senator, because basically, I mean, Obama proved that you can be a freshman in this in the federal and Congress and basically, win the White House.
Yeah, that's true.
And then, Trump won 2016, so it's like it's not really out of the realm of possibility that anybody else could fill or like win per se. Because I don't know, I don't really see a lot of strong candidates
For the Democrats?
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, I could see Kamala running. Is that how you pronounce her name?
Kamala?
Kamala?
Is it Kamala or Kamala?
Kamala.
Kamala.
Kamala. I'll switch pronunciation. Kay Harris.
Kay Harris.
That's what my coworkers called. I just realized that. Anyway, okay, Madame Vice President, right? I think Madame Vice President, and I call her that because I can't pronounce her first name. I don't want to offend anybody, but I think she would have somewhat. I feel like during Joe Biden's presidency, she was very overshadowed. Like I don't think I've read a lot about her in the news, or like she didn't do a lot apart from. I don't think she even visited Taiwan. That was Pelosi, but I feel like she might have a chance to run again. I don't think she's the strongest candidate, but like at the top of my head, that's one other person. I'd love for Sanders to run again. I don't think he'd win. He's also kind of old, so they might bully him for that.
Yeah.
Terrifying that Santis is looking for president.
He might.
But I mean, the way it looks, at least right now, is like,
He's probably, I mean, I remember I read that the Florida legislators like planning on maybe adding an amendment that says, a governor doesn't have to give up the position of governance if he or she wants to seek the White House.
That's terrible. That's illegal. I shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
No. I would vote myself into the presidency.
You would vote for you would write yourself. You would start a write-in campaign.
Yeah. But DeSantis. What I did see is that during the midterms, DeSantis and Trump were kind of having like a divorce fight.
Yeah, basically a divorce.
Because they were like besties at one point, but now they're like they don't even talk to each other.
Yeah.
And
they were besties during 2018 because that's when DeSantis first took office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if Santis wins, or like if Trump somehow gets into the nomination and Santis is there, I feel like Trump is gonna kind of like rift them. And I think I read this on the New York Times that apparently if Santis runs and Trump, there's gonna be this split where like it could look like Kevin McCarthy style, where there's only so much support for him, but unless he doesn't pull those Trump supporters out of the Trump circle, he might not get the full nomination, and you just be split. And you just you have like a fan base of 100 people, right? And if DeSantis only gets 70 because Trump got the other 30,
he doesn't win,
or something like that, or like there's other because I imagine that DeSantis doesn't want to be the only nominate that the Republican Party is going to carry out.
He seems to be kind of the strongest contender in terms of just among Republicans, and also more among like a national basis. Like I've kind of just noticed this as a trend, just being in Oregon. Like I've noticed like more people like publicly wearing like "Make America Florida" hats than like
Make America Great Again.
Yeah, like I see more of that than MAGA hats. Like that's just a personal observation that I've just seen.
I have never seen the Florida ones, but
yeah, they're kind of like gray. They're like gray and red.
Oh, I might have seen one at Newburgh. Fun fact: I worked at Newburgh, right? I was at Starbucks, and I kept telling them people, "Oh, happy Martin Luther King's Day." Nobody said it back except for one lady. One lady wished it to me. That's
I don't know if people even...
They might know who he is, but which just saddens me. But going back to your question, Democrats. I mean, I think Joe Biden could run for presidency. Could replace him. I don't know. I think the Democratic Party is just in this kind of split line.
I feel like they're out of quality candidates.
Like there's not a lot to pick from.
I feel like Pete Buttigieg just kind of screwed over his own chances.
I don't even remember. I think I will say something. It shouldn't be a celebrity. I think celebrities should stay far away from presidents.
No Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Not Dwayne, no formerly artist or rapper. I don't even want to say his name. He doesn't deserve to be mentioned, but you know exactly who I'm talking about because you're laughing. He doesn't even...
I was probably one of the, I don't know, watch it. And I already touched on it a while ago.
I wouldn't be surprised if you haven't.
Yeah, no, I talked about it extensively when it first happened, and then it's just like the latest news I've heard of him is like he's got married again. That's the latest I've heard.
Really?
Yeah.
Can't believe he survived that. But I do remember that there was a dinner with Trump, and I don't remember the guy's name, but it's a pretty bad, pretty guy.
It was two dudes.
Two dudes.
It was with him. It was Nick Fuentes and then Milo Yiannopoulos. Yeah, Yiannopoulos. Yiannopoulos.
I don't know. I don't know. He's the guy that got dropped by Nike or one of those. Because it was. I don't want to say his name. Oh, you can't hear me that way. I blocked the microphone to tell you, but then I realized you have headphones. Kim Kardashian's ex-husband, I guess you could say. It was Nick Fuentes, him, and it might have been another guy, and Trump, right?
Milo Yiannopoulos, and then Trump.
Okay, we'll call him mildly annoying.
No, that's his literally name.
He is?
No, his name is Milo Yiannopoulos. I just refer to him as Milo because like how many other I don't.
Well, I do know another Milo. It's Milo from Fish Hooks. You may not know who that is, but
no,
I know.
I know. I watched that show when I was a kid.
I love that show. Anyway, so this too, I remember that Milo, right? Sorry, Milo from Fish Hooks. He asked Trump, "Hey, you should be my running mate." And that I think there was something like that came out on an article about because a lot of people focused on the Nick Fuentes section of it, but I think a couple of little things was like, oh yeah, and then there was like, Milo, Indianapolis. He was like, hey, we should run. Let me be the head though, and you get to be the tail, something like that. And I think there was like a thought that he was trying to recruit Trump to be his like running mate instead of Trump being like the running mate or something.
That's interesting. But he couldn't run because he was born in the UK.
I mean, are you surprised that he doesn't know that? I don't know.
That's fair.
That's a good point. This is the guy who started throwing 1945 references left and right. So, or I mean, 1939 references, if you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, the Democratic Party doesn't have a lot of strong candidates in my. I bet that once the whole election, because I think we're a year from it, right?
Well, we're basically a year from primary season.
Yeah, so
we're about I want to say 7 months. Yeah, we're 7 months out from primary season.
Oh yeah, we're gonna start seeing. But yeah, I personally believe it should be somebody with the knowledge of like a background in knowledge of either. I'm not a big fan of economists, but like an economist, somebody who studied government, something like that, somebody who has worked in the field, with experience of it. Definitely not somebody who, was the what's it called? The Tooth Fairy in that one movie.
Tooth Fairy?
Yeah, I think it was Dwayne's movie. He was a Tooth Fairy or something like that.
I vaguely
yeah, I remember the cover. It's like a white cover and he's wearing like wings. And he's taking care of two kids.
Wasn't he a football player too in that film? Wasn't it something
maybe,
like that?
I don't know.
I'm thinking of a different film. Never mind. I'm thinking of Dwayne.
Never Dwayne.
Dwayne.
It definitely shouldn't be a boulder, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What about so you don't think Biden has a chance of running again?
I think so the best shot that Biden has is two scenarios. One, either Trump gets the nomination and he just beats him again, because I don't see Trump winning in any inconceivable like way.
Not editor's cut, but that's what we all said in 2016. That still haunts me. If I continue.
But there's also there's the very, very possible scenario where DeSantis wins the nomination, but Trump decides to run still on a separate ticket. And so it's a three-way race. However, it's not like Ross Perot in the 90s, and it's like, it's two candidates that are basically the same politically, but are just arguing with one another of who should be in charge.
And then that way you kind of split the
split
party.
Yeah, you split that vote, and then Biden basically wins, like, I don't know, 39 states or something like that, because the party split and, it's majority, whoever, winner takes all. So,
If
like,
Donald Trump is listening, please run for a third party. I think you'd make a great president.
like, hypothetically speaking, Kentucky votes 60% Republican and 40% Democrat, but that 60% is split evenly between Trump and DeSantis. Well, then Biden still wins it because he won the most of the vote. Like, because that's the way it's set up. Actually, it'd be exactly how it was in the election of 1912.
Oh, dang.
Because it was Woodrow Wilson versus Teddy Roosevelt and Taft.
Who won that election? I don't remember.
It was Wilson by an extensive margin.
Oh, dang.
Even though he won with 40%, I believe it was like somewhere around 40% of the popular vote. But Teddy and Taft combined had the majority of the vote. Like their vote together counted like well over 50.
Mm-hmm.
But just because the way it's set up, like state by state, I think Wilson won like a vast majority of the states, and like Teddy won like 2 or 3.
Dang.
I think he won Oregon, actually. I could be wrong on that. No, it was either Oregon or Montana that Teddy Roosevelt won. I digress. Basically, I'm just saying it could be a repeat. There's I don't know. I posted something on my Instagram how like the election of 2024, it could be, I don't know, it could be 1960, which is possible. Which Kennedy. It could be like. Yeah, it could be the election of 1960 where like Kennedy like whoops Nixon.
Mm-hmm.
It could be 1912 where there's a split Republican vote like again, or they're not very likely just because of trends. But there's it's not really a possibility, but it's I don't know a long shot possibility of something even slightly reminiscent of 1980.
Define 1980.
1980 is when Reagan basically won 48, 49 states compared to Carter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that's very unrealistic, but also...
How likely do you think the Republicans are to take the White House?
If it's Trump, not a chance. If it's DeSantis against Biden, I think it's very plausible.
Yeah.
Just because incumbent president, things haven't really improved, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And just kind of even like DeSantis versus like any other Dem. Like, that's why I picked Fetterman, because I feel like Fetterman's the only person that has like a reasonable shot, because Fetterman is pretty aligned with like Bernie and all his policies, which are overall very popular with most of America. That's why, like, I'm thinking, like, those two, like, going head-to-head, I believe, like, Fetterman definitely has a slightly better odds. Mm-hmm. That's my perspective, anyway, of it.
Makes sense. Mm-hmm. I got a question I forgot. But. I forgot again. I was going to say, and I forgot. It's blank. It's gone. I had a question. If you got anything to say, go ahead, because I'm trying to remember.
Well, yeah, 2024. It's a lot fast. It's here a lot faster.
Yeah, no, definitely is.
And
it feels.
Yeah.
I know when you said that it was gonna take 7 months, I was like, 7 months, but then I was like, I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and it's gonna be like 2025.
It doesn't feel like I feel like I was in high school like yesterday. Like it doesn't.
Time's gone fast.
It's too fast.
I don't like it. I'm like 21. Sorry, I had to count. I'm like 21.
Yeah.
It's like, dang, I used to be like, I don't know, 20 years ago. Wild. I'm trying really hard, but I can't remember it.
What topic was it related?
It was related to the election.
It was right. 2024?
Yeah.
It's about a specific candidate?
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say, so obviously Fetterman hasn't said anything about running the election, but you think he would actually take on, like, his person, like if you were, not if you were, but like looking at what happened in Pennsylvania, do you think he would actually go for the election?
Here's the thing. I feel like he's kind of like he could easily be the inheritor to Bernie's movement kind of guy. He obviously, like, he won a very contested Senate race by a larger margin than was initially expected or pulled at.
Mm-hmm.
So he could maybe potentially continue off that energy. He also has like probably some of the best social media engagement I've seen in like a long time in terms of like a politician, where he would like, do you have a Twitter?
No.
Well, basically every day he would be like, Oz would tweet, stop Fetterman, blah, blah, blah. And then Fetterman would go like, shut up, you're from New Jersey. And then get like 12,000 likes or something like that.
I already like him. I think he's got a chance. Also, he was from New Jersey. I mean, can we go from there? Now, I do remember my question, though.
Mm-hmm.
It's two, actually. So, in terms, what do you think? So, say Joe, like Trump calls him Sleepy Joe, wants to run for the election. What do you think Joe Biden can do to kind of lift his own, like, popular?
Obviously, probably I talk about it extensively because I kind of like hash on him, because there's a lot of stuff he can do via executive orders that can just be instantly passed without like having to go through Congress, which especially now he can't even do that. Like a great example would be like, oh, I can just declare a public health emergency and make healthcare free for everybody. It's that simple. Or like, oh, I can make marijuana legal basically with some fancy language and say like, oh yeah, don't worry about it. You're not going to go to jail if you have this on you, or if you're just smoking it recreationally. Like just very like obvious things that he could just do, but he just hasn't done.
Makes sense. Makes sense. My next question is, so in terms of the Democratic Party, so obviously we've seen very close elections recently. What do you think the Democratic Party can do to have a bit of a lead margin? Because and if you don't understand my question, I can give you an example. During the midterms, a lot of Democrats went with the issue, if a Republican wins, abortions can be removed, right? But they also sent that message along in places where abortion was already protected. And that kind of led to like a bit of like, okay, yeah, we know abortion is important, but for example, in Oregon, we already have abortion. Tell us something else.
It's in the, that's, I guess to go off of what you just said, that was kind of like my main complaint with Kotek is her kind of campaigning. She campaigned mainly on abortion, even though it's in the state constitution. Drazen couldn't touch it like at all. And I'm pretty sure she said like, I'm not even going to bother with it because I can't really do anything about it. But go on.
Yeah. So what would you say in terms of those, in terms of like what can the Democrats do in order to have like a bigger chance? Because I feel like this coming presidential election is going to be just as tight as the 2020, if not. It'll be like the midterms, but presidential.
I'd say like the best thing the Dems can do is just have popular economic policy. And keywords basically dump the blue dog like caucus, which, Joe Manchin and several other basically kind of dump the center Dems, move a little more left, but mainly just focus on public like economic policy and stuff like that, like try to fight for healthcare, like Medicare for all, which I think would be like the biggest thing, because I think I talk about this, and then I think about FDR. Basically, the New Deal Democrats destroyed the Republicans for 13, 14 years, like straight, and like a super majority, like in both houses of Congress, and basically they could just pass and do whatever they wanted because they were just doing good policy and stuff like that, and like good economic policy that actually gave change to people's lives and got people out of the Great Depression and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I definitely think the Democrats should focus. They got good points and everything, but I think one of the Democrats, and I think that was one of the weakest points we saw on the midterms, is Democrats just didn't have a lot when it comes to the economics. And like Republicans ran with it. It's like, what is the Democrat going to do with the economy? Nothing. Look at Congress, right?
Yeah.
And then Democrats, you try to answer is like that. I was like, well, we really haven't done anything. What can I really do with that?
Yeah.
Build back better.
Went from was it like 10 to 5 to 7 to 1.3 to 1.1, and it's not even going to be like realized until like 10 years later.
Yeah, something
And
like that.
a lot of funding isn't really even going towards stuff that would like impact people now or stuff like, yeah.
I didn't read a lot on the Build Back Better, but definitely
Yeah.
definitely wasn't the Build Back Better Biden wanted.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think, I mean, I think even in 2020 when Joe Biden won, everybody was like, "Come on, you gotta get your game on," you know, obviously, I think if Trump runs again, I just don't want to jinx future. You know, I don't want to be like, "Oh, he won't win," because we all said that the night of the election. Oh, you know, even South Park was like, "Oh, he won't win."
Well, yeah, no, they had to rewrite the
They had to rewrite the final
rewrite the
episode.
finale because like they saw he won. It's like, oh crap, we got to rewrite this entire episode.
Yeah. I hope they release that episode. I love to see. You know, I think I'm due for another alternate universe episode. So yeah.
Yeah.
What time were we at?
Definitely long. We're at 200. A lot.
200 on a lot.
Well,
Okay.
we recorded. It's probably been like hour 30.
Oh, okay. You can cut it. I used to film YouTube videos with friends.
Yeah.
We'd film like a Minecraft video for an hour and a half, and then I'd sit there,
Yeah.
watching the whole video, cutting in pieces.
I want to say thank you for tuning into this amazing conversation. I would say thank you for our guest for appearing on this episode.
It was really fun. I'm definitely willing to come back. If you need a co-host, I will definitely join. Give me a resume, give me an application. I'd love to do it. This was really fun.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for tuning into Capitol Hill Landscaping with Scotty, featuring special guest Alejandro.
Thank you for having me. It was really fun. I really appreciate it.
Have a wonderful day, and check out our other programming only on KWOO. We're on Spotify, KWOO Voices. It's just right there. You just go on Spotify.
Type it. Spotify even reads your mind. It'll find it.
It will
every time.
autocorrect and autofill for you. Thanks for so much for listening, and see you next time.
Bye.